Welcome to the Miracle You, guiding you on the journey towards finding passion and purpose and how to discover, create, and live a life by your design. Whether your success has been plentiful or your missed opportunities have been overwhelming, we can help you become a more empowered, masterful person and show you how to share your gift with the world. It's time to inspire change from within with the host of the Miracle You, Vince Kramer.
Hello, everyone. We are your hosts, Mary and Vince Kramer. Welcome to Waking Up, where we share discussions, insights, and information about science, spirituality, and living a life of your design. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Waking Up with Vince and Mary. I am really thrilled to share this episode with you. It has been a few shows since we explored a concept from our book, Awakening Through Moments of Choice. We've been moving through the book in order, which brings us to something that I know is near and dear to Vince's heart. It has become a pillar in our lives and our business, life meant to live. Vince, would you explain what we mean by the life you are meant to live for those that might be listening to our podcast for the first time?
I would absolutely love to, Mary. First of all, the episodes leading up to this episode have really illustrated through the roundtable and through our guests that we all have this life that we're meant to live. I believe, and I know you believe also, that we made that choice before our birth of what difference we were going to make in the world, what kind of impact we were going to have. And then after making that choice, really deciding how we were going to come into the world to help us on that journey. I believe we brought a blueprint into life with us for this life that we're meant to live, a life that helps us develop the gifts and talents that we need to share with others so we can make the difference. We can help raise the vibration of the planet. So it's really about living our life on purpose. It's about finding that purpose and then living that life in a way that we fulfill our purpose right up to the day that we die. And I think that is so important. It's really about creating the life that we want. And when I say the life that we want, I know that affects people in many different ways. What truly is the life that I want? But I believe it's that knowingness that we brought in, the knowingness about the life that we're meant to live. I think we share it best when we say that each of us needs to live our life our way instead of following the examples or the rules of everyone else around us, our parents, our grandparents, society, anyone that wants us to follow a set of rules that might not help us make that difference that we're meant to make.
That brings us to the main story you shared in the book. It is the story of your grandmother sharing a very important and life-changing moment with you just before her death. It was reminding you of something you had shared with her at a very young age about the life that you are meant to live. Please share with us about that.
Yes, it's something that I remember now pretty vividly, but I had forgotten for a while. I remember my mom walking down the hall, really looking like she was on a mission. And as she got closer to the waiting room, I noticed that she was coming directly for me. She told me that my grandmother had something that she wanted to tell me, and she wanted to see me in her room. As we walked back to her room, I was wondering, what could this be? What does my grandmother have to say to me? I had already had my goodbyes with her, and I really preferred not to see her again as she was getting closer to dying. When I walked in the room, immediately she motioned with her hands for everyone else to get out of the room, and she cleared the room of everyone except me and my mother, and then of course my grandmother. And then she asked my mom to leave. And there I was with my grandmother, and she motioned me to come over, and I could barely understand or hear what she was saying. And as I leaned a little bit closer to hear what she was saying to me, she reminded me that when I was 5 years old, I had told her that I was on earth to help people love themselves so they could love others. And at the time, I didn't know what that meant. And at 17 years old, I definitely didn't know how I was going to do that. But it was something that triggered in me a memory, if you will. Even if it was short-lived memory, it triggered something that there was a time in my life that I knew exactly why I was on earth. I really contemplated what that meant, but I wasn't able to grasp it, as I said, as a 17-year-old. So I just kept it all to myself. I really didn't share it with anybody because I didn't know what it meant. And to be honest with you, I was a little afraid that if that was the truth, I didn't know how I was going to make it happen. First of all, what did it even mean to love yourself so you could love others? It was just something too far outside of my ability to grasp or hold on to at the time.
Wow, what a great story and so emotional. I'm sure all of our listeners were very moved by that and are even starting to think of whether or not they had a situation like that. But what you're saying is that you have known since you were 17 years old that you knew what your purpose is, even if you might not know what that would look like or how you were going to do it. That still had to be so impactful.
It really was, Mary. I was young and still locked into the rules that my grandfather had taught me on how to live life, to compete, to be the best, to have more. And I went right back in a very short amount of time to those rules, trying to prove myself, trying to be the man that I knew I was supposed to be, but from the rules of someone that was a man in a way that I didn't want to be. And that was a really tough journey for me, but I forgot. It didn't take me more than in just a few months to forget what my grandmother shared with me and start on the path to being the man I was supposed to be. But as I look back now, I realize that it was really the life I was meant to live. I was meant to live by grandpa's rules for a while in a way that I could learn more about the world around me. I could learn more about myself. I could learn how the outside world, the material world, the jobs that I thought I needed to have, the things that I thought I should have really weren't helping me live that life the way that I wanted to live. So just like that little 5-year-old, because of the outside world, because of the rules of everyone else, I forgot. And I think we all forget. I think we all forget at some level. Some people always hold on to that understanding of they know, but the rest of us forget altogether. And unfortunately, because society really isn't set up at this point, it's getting better and better. It's not set up to help us remember. And that's why we flounder around wondering what our purpose is, wondering what our why is, trying to ask that question. And we ask the two biggest questions that are asked in the world. Who am I and why am I here?
All of that makes so much sense to me. I know I forgot. And I don't think that I really started to have any kind of memory or awakening. I was so busy and stressed out and constantly wondering, is this all there is for me? Is this my life? And I have a memory that came back to me probably in my 30s or 40s, I don't know, about a ball of light that came out of a fireplace one night when I was visiting my sister. I detail the story more in the book, but I do think that that story truly was, I mean, that memory truly was embedded in me. And it came back to my consciousness when I was struggling the most. So that would be the best thing I could think about to share with our listeners of how I knew that I was more, that my life was more than I was living. It just took me a lot longer than it took you. So when did you remember again? And what was the impetus for you to remember?
Well, as we shared in a podcast a few weeks ago, the moments of choice in my life, just what you were describing there, there's something missing. There's got to be more. Those were the impetus to really start me understanding that I wasn't living that life that I was meant to live. I didn't understand that at the time. But then the bigger moments of choice, the 9/11, the bankruptcy, the divorce, started pushing me towards uh, understanding that there was something missing and to find what that missing thing was. And as I've shared many times, it was definitely me that was missing through all of that. But when it comes to specifically remembering what my grandmother shared with me, it's an interesting story. As you and I uncovered the fact that we were meant to be together, that we're here to share with others how to grow, how to expand, how to find your purpose. It was that that started me on the journey to remembering what Grandma shared. I remember specifically us starting a program with Lisa Sasevich in her Diamond program as we were working on developing the ways that we could share the message with the world. We could develop the programs in a way that help people walk through each step of discovering, creating, and living your life. In that journey, we had to dig deep and find what really was the reason that we knew that we were together? What was really the reason that we knew we had to bring this work to the world and created all these amazing things that we'll talk about in other podcasts and that are illustrated in the book very well. And in digging deep is where the memory started to come back that I was here to help people love themselves so they could love others. And that just popped into my head one day as we're coaching with Lisa on, what really is the story that I have, especially to bring to the world. And then it started coming back rather quickly. And it came back in dreams. It came back in uh, connections with my higher self, reminding me that I felt that way as a child, and then remembering, oh yes, Grandma shared that with me, and that really opened things up for me to really start wondering how many people are in the same place and how many people don't have Grandma to remind them or have no idea what the wake up calls are to get you to start paying attention, to get you to think about, what is the next step? What is the life I'm meant to live? What did that little child know that I don't know right now?
It's so profound that you would even have the concept of helping people to love themselves. And then to have it be at 5 years old. And then to have someone so important in your life pay attention and remember and remind you at 17. Really impactful, really profound. And I remember so clearly working with you when we were in the Lisa Sasevich program and how that memory came flooding back to you. It was a very critical time in your life. And I know I recognized it as, wow, this has to be talked about. It just is too important to miss. And as we've shared this story with people that are in our lives, both business and personal, it always makes them stop to think about what maybe have they forgotten. I think it's just a really important thing that you're sharing. I really do. Do you think that it is strange or out of the ordinary that you knew your purpose at 5 years old?
I did at the time that I remembered at 50. I thought, wow, why was I so blessed to know that? And why was I so blessed to have a grandmother who held on to that for 12 years and reminded me on her deathbed? But as we've done more and more work with people that have been in our programs, and I've shared this story now with many people, and there's people reading the story in the book, I'm finding that we all had a lot of memories. We all knew when we came in, like I said earlier, what we were here for. And if you look at the 5-year-olds or the 4-year-olds and you listen to their imagination and you listen what's going on as they're playing and they're conversing with each other, there's all kinds of proof that we all know why we're here. It's interesting if you look back what you enjoyed playing as a child, the way you enjoyed playing as a child. I think there's a lot of evidence of the purpose that you brought into this world. Now, if you don't know your purpose in this moment, I can understand it's hard for you to look back and say, oh, yeah, well, that's what I was supposed to do. But I always played games where that I was a leader. I always played games where I could bring my younger brothers in to include them in the games that we were playing. So I was always helping people feel good about themselves. I was always pulling them in that direction or pushing them at the right time to see how amazing they were and to not feel bad about themselves no matter what was going on around them. And as I look back at my brothers, I could see where they were showing that they knew the direction that they were supposed to go in the world. I've talked to so many, and I know you've talked to a bunch of people too, who had a feeling that, wow, I need to help people feel well and live a healthy life. And they played doctors. Now, that doesn't mean that their purpose was a doctor, but a lot of them are health coaches now. A lot of them are healers of some sort. So, yes, I think, Mary, we all knew, and I think we all held it inside of us, but we had to forget for a while. We had to forget so we could develop the skills to be a doctor or a healer, or develop the skills to be a teacher, or develop the skills to put wells throughout the entire world so everybody has clean water. When the time comes for us to start paying attention to why we're here, I think we can go back and we could find that that little 5-year-old or little 7-year-old or maybe a little 3-year-old knew, and the memory will come back to you.
I think that's really helpful and inspiring for everyone listening. And I just know that it will truly bring them back to some ideas and where they were at. Like you said, maybe they were 3, 5, or 7. I think it's super helpful. And you and I, we've seen it time and time again as we help people uncover what they forgot. It's such exciting work. And I love thinking back about my childhood, how it prepared me for the work I'm doing today with you. But what I want to spend time on now is sharing something so delightful for both of us. We have 2 grandchildren, and one of them is turning 5 tomorrow. So what an appropriate time frame to be sharing your story. And I want to share a story about her. We just spent a week with her in Scottsdale, and it was unusually hot for April. It was 90 degrees almost every single day. So we got to be in the pool with her every day, which was fun in and of itself. And of course, during rest time and shade time, because no one can be out in 90 degrees, 8 to 12 hours in the day, Vince and I watched, I don't know how many times, Finding Dory. So our little grandchild and I ran over to Target, and we found a pool toy that was all the characters from Finding Dory. And it was just delightful to not only be in the pool with her, but listen to her play with those plastic pool friends and hear her, let's say, version of the movie. And you could hear it in her imagination and her ability to communicate and articulate. It was really, really fun. I had so much. That was just the best vacation, to observe her and to apply it to what we're talking about. My observations of her is already at almost 5. She was expressing love for people and nature. She was so fascinated by the beautiful cactus and the cactus that were blooming and all of the brilliant flowers that were blooming around the pool. She was so about community. You could see her interest in the probably, I don't know how many people were at that poolside, but I'm just going to guess 100. And it was just fascinating to watch her give them space, have respect for them. She cared if someone was running, she was watching to make sure they didn't fall and get hurt. She was so inclusive, and she wanted to play with all of the friends and share her toys. And she was so kind. There was a sovereignty to her. And based on what you've been sharing, Vince, even though it's impossible for me right now to identify, oh, I know exactly what profession she's going to go into, listen to the attributes I shared about her. So surely those things, love, community, inclusion, kindness, being sovereign, are going to help her develop what her gifts and talents are, help her remember her purpose, and help her down her path and move in to who she is going to be as a, probably in her case, even a preteen, teen, and an adult. And I just know that it will be very much in awareness and a high level of consciousness and being in service to people, still living her purpose and being who she is and expressing all of that.
Well, I think she's kind of going to be an example of choosing the parents and the grandparents that you need to fully live your purpose, because she loves community and beauty like grandma. It's obvious that that beauty means something to her and she wants to share it in the world. I think that's huge. And some of the games she likes to play, or some of the ways that she likes to play, and she even does this when she's by herself. So it's not like she's coming together with other children and coming up with a game or a way that they want to play. It's interesting to me that we learned that before she goes to school every day, she makes sure all her dolls are lined up on their chairs, ready to be taught and get the information that she knows they need to get through their teacher. So she puts the dolls in their chairs. She puts a teacher up front. So all these little dolls are going to get the information. So I think she's going to follow in grandpa's footsteps a little bit and love to teach and love to share. And then the most recent thing that we learned is how much she is going to be someone that is makes everyone feel inclusive. She even lines her dolls up for a family photo. So that in itself is showing that she's really here for inclusiveness. She's really here to share, teach, and help people on their journey. So I think she chose the right grandparents. I think she chose the right parents for that. And I think she's an example for all of us. I think every single one of us chose the right people in our lives to help us start to understand why we're here, forget long enough to develop all the wonderful gifts and talents that we need to really make that difference, and then to awaken and open up. And if you're listening to this podcast right now, this is an opportunity for you to look back in your childhood and say, what did I know? Can I remember what I knew back then? Because I know it will help you understand why you're here and how to take the next step in learning even more. So we talked today about wake-up calls at a very short level, just to get us to understand that we do have a life that we're meant to live. And then how can we look back? Where can we find what we knew as a young child when we came into this world to make a difference? And then what do we do with it? Where do we go from here?
I think that's beautifully said, Vince. And I hope all of you have really been touched by all of these stories. And for those of you that have grandchildren, look at them through a different lens. Look at them through what talents and gifts are they already showing? What energy are they already expressing? And you can be like Vince's grandma, and at some important time in their life, you can help them remember something important. I think that would be a beautiful gift. I can't believe it is already the end of our time together. We know today's topic is important for all of us as we choose to live the life we are meant to live. If you want to learn more about Imagine Miracles and other topics about living your unique purpose, go to imaginemiracles.com. And as always, you can get our best-selling book, Awakening Through Moments of Choice, at amazon.com.
Until next time, have a miracle day.
You've completed this episode of The Miracle You, but we have plenty more to help you discover your own personal passion and purpose. Head over to themiracleyou.com for free resources to assist you on your journey, as well as register for our free webinar, Discover Your Miracle Life, 3 mind awakening steps toward your unique purpose, or apply for a one-on-one Your Life, Your Way breakthrough session and discover your next best step on your journey. All available exclusively on our website. That's themiracleyou.com. We look forward to sharing more experiences of passion, purpose, and life by design next time, right here on The Miracle You.